You are listening to the MVP Podcast.
All right, guys, welcome everyone to another episode of Talkin Tech. My name is Danny, and during these episodes, we discuss indie tech and how to apply it. In this episode, we are going to record it. It's going to be a little different here today. We're not going to be showing you a solution for you guys to check out. Instead, we're going to have a conversation with my lovely guest here. But I want to do an intro. And I met this person through Ryan Deeds, and he was like, dude, you need to have her on the podcast. And from what I've known Ryan, I'm like, I gotta listen to him, right? So her and I connected before this, and insanely impressed, blown away with what she's done in her background, what she's looking to do as well. And, wanted to get her voice out there and tell agents what they need to know. So I'm happy to introduce the wonderful Kiarra Walden. How you doing?
Oh, thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, it's seriously, I've been excited for this. This is
and shout out to Ryan.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Are you kidding me? I actually just spoke to him a couple days ago, and we had a wonderful chat about having to get more adoption when it comes to using technology, showing agents, instead of just solving the problem, show us how. What am I really going to get out of this, right? But anyways, Kiarra, I'm gonna hand it off to you here real quick. Before this, I was like, hey, give us a couple of points that why our agents should be listening here today. So I'll hand it off to you here.
Yeah, I am really excited to come and talk today about data and analytics. It's a passion of mine. It's something that I have been interested in and involved in immediately in my experience in my career in insurance. Yeah. As most people know, in the insurance industry, a lot of us don't go directly into insurance. We go all around our journey into insurance. Right. It's not a straight line. It's very curved all around. But what I really wanted to talk about today is data as a strategy and a toolbox that companies can use, and also data being revenue. I think a lot of times people use it as a tool that is kind of in the box in the corner, but they don't quite use it in a way that really optimizes revenue and really drives business strategy. So those are the things I'm really passionate about and excited to talk about today.
Heck yeah, guys. All right. So that's why you should listen here today. Before we get into that, want to talk about our background because like I had said before, it's impressive. Okay, so let's dive into it. What got you into the industry?
So I actually went to college. I went to Vanderbilt University. After I graduated, I just knew I was going to be in marketing and design. I was so passionate about that. And then I recognized that it's a really difficult industry to break into, especially if you don't have a lot of internships, et cetera. The barrier to enter into the marketing industry is huge. Yeah. And so I was working a few odd end jobs, just really trying to figure out where I was going to pivot in my career and really figure out what I wanted to do for the long term. And I went to a barbershop with one of my friends. And we were just sitting there having spirited discussion. I really can't remember what we were talking about. And one of the guys in the chair, he said, "Oh my God, you're so intelligent. Do you want to come work for me?" And I was like, "What?" I was like, "What do you do? What do you mean?" It was like, "Well, I work in insurance." It was Willis Towers Watson, or Willis at the time. Mm-hmm. And he was like, "I really think you'd be a great asset to our team." So I went, I interviewed, I got the job. They taught me everything I needed to know about insurance and contracts. And then I was actually poached by the Crichton Group, by Carrie
Yeah.
Ilsey. And I came over to the Crichton Group to work with Tracy and Ryan. And that's where I met Ryan. And he really taught me everything I know about data and analytics, business intelligence. And, that's kind of how I got into it. So I've been working in the insurance space in data and analytics. Since about 2015, 2016.
Wow. Yeah. And where are you at today?
I currently am at Hub International. I work remotely. I'm in Memphis, right outside of Memphis in South Haven.
No, that's great. Yeah, guys, again, we all fall into this industry, right? And then I'm sure now, like, as we're talking about data today, would you have thought that you would have loved doing what you're doing now?
No, I mean, like I said, I just knew for a fact I was going to do design. I mean, I had
Yeah.
learned Photoshop, InDesign, Illustrator. I was wholeheartedly going into the marketing direction.
Yeah.
And so someone pivoting me to insurance, I was like, what is this industry? I was maybe like 22, 23. And so the most I knew about insurance was my mom having me on her insurance for my car. And so I was like, I mean, I didn't know anything about homeowners, personal lines, employee benefits, commercial lines, property casualty. I knew nothing about any of that stuff. Obviously, when I got my first home, that background came in handy when I was looking for my insurance documents.
Yeah.
Getting renter's insurance when I had an apartment. So those insurance is all around us. It's integrated in a lot of the ways that we function as
Everywhere.
adults. You just don't quite grasp that there is an engine behind insurance,
Right.
insurance carriers, brokers, etc. And those people are, like us.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, you hit it on the nail. You're like, I didn't even know insurance till 23, right?
Yeah.
Honestly, I didn't get in the industry until maybe I think it was like 27 now. Oh my gosh.
Oh, wow.
And but then when you're cut off really like from your parents, right around like you're like low mid
26.
20s. Yeah, and you're like, what's insurance? What does it do for me?
I
I
was like, physical damage,
yeah.
liability, I guess.
Premium? Like what's
Yes.
that? What am I paying
And so,
for?
I really attribute me actually understanding insurance to Willis. Like Willis had a robust training program in the certificates department. They also were paying for certifications back then. So I actually got my property and casualty license back then I kept it up for a lot of years. And so I needed to really understand insurance. I had to understand contracts, that language, subrogation, workers' compensation, like all of those things and concepts. They really, really take time in their training program to teach you those things so that you can do your job well. So kudos to Willis for that.
That's awesome. And like we've talked about before, and as I typically say on these episodes, I typically market to the younger agency.
Okay.
The agent looking to maybe get into technology,
Okay.
right? And you're perfect for this because I actually didn't know your license. So I mean, this is even more of why you're
it's
qualified.
Not. It expired, but
but you know,
stop my continuing education.
but you get it. Like you know what they go through, and that's why you're so qualified to talk about data and what it does for an agency. So let's kind of like slowly veer into that here now.
Okay.
And you have one of the points here today. Data is strategy. So if I'm a younger agent, let's say I'm a new agent, I'm starting from scratch. What advice do you have from them at that point about what they should be doing with their data?
Okay. So I think it's really important to talk about the basics of data first. So there are 4 types of data. What happened? Like descriptive analytics. Why did it happen? Diagnostic analytics. What will happen, which is predictive analytics, but that goes into more data science. And how can I make it happen, which is prescriptive. And so when you think about those 4 pieces, a lot of times people miss the what happened and why did it happen. So if you are a new agent and you're looking to really get into the industry or break into the industry, I think being in a niche industry makes the most sense.
Wow.
So if you are looking for manufacturers or you want to go into farming and agriculture, it really makes a lot of sense for you to do a little bit of research about those industries, because a lot of people in property and casualty, there are a lot of people in employee benefits. It's
Right.
really, really, really difficult to make those connections, but there are a lot of forgotten industries. And so my advice would definitely be to look at those forgotten industries or like up and coming industries like cannabis, for example. There are
Right.
definitely a lot of people that need insurance in those spaces. And so what agents can do is take data about those industries and make decisions. So more specifically, it's a dynamic tool that you can use in your toolbox and find simple solutions. So if you are seeing that there is an uptick in using the news, for example, news is data. So we look at data as numbers or facts. No, data is everything. Data is news. Data is information you put into systems. Data is things like information from CRMs. Like there's data around us everywhere. So utilizing that data to make informed decisions makes a huge impact on your ability to succeed. So going and looking at, okay, there is an uptick in the amount of farmers that are seeing turnover rates in their crops.
Yeah.
What types of insurance do you have and what relationships do you have with carriers so that you can leverage that information to go out and communicate with those farmers about how you can help them? It's about understanding the pain points of your clients and using the data that you research to make those informed decisions. I am absolutely more interested in going with a producer that understands my unique problems and has come up with those same unique solutions. And that's not just for farming and agriculture, that's for every industry. So going back to data as a strategy, I mean, utilizing data in your strategy to basically show how prepared you are for the different issues that your clients can face, that generates revenue.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I'm a younger agent. Basically, I should, if I'm going to, let's say I'm in a specific area, I should do research on my area.
Absolutely.
And then from there, pick a specific industry, something that might be a little different than what every other independent agent's doing, and do my research, align my companies that I'm appointed with, right, with what's going to give me value to that client. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. And then at that point, you are utilizing the data that you were collecting to make an informed decision. You're utilizing, and a lot of people don't come with that strategy. A lot of it's just cold calling, like, oh, hey, do you need insurance? And it's like, yes, everyone needs insurance, but why? What makes you stand out? And utilizing data helps you to, I would say, get ahead of the competition there.
I love it. You said news is data too. I love that. So basically, hey, go on the news, check out something that's going on in that industry and say
it. Stay up to date in the markets that you're in. I mean, I think being a producer takes a very unique set of skills, and it takes a lot of research. It takes a lot of trying. It takes a lot of work and dedication. And I think the better producers succeed, one, from relationship management, but two, from using data and analytics.
Yeah. So, and using that data, let's say using a CRM, right? I'm starting out, and right now it may be a generalist today. Want to focus in an industry, but hey, maybe like trying a couple things out. Hey, 6 months, I'm going to try this, and I'm going to put in maybe like a lead source. Hey, this was cannabis or contractor or, a manufacturer, and seeing what works, building data off that. If I have a higher close ratio here, well, why? And you're saying build better data there to know why, and then that you can build that use case and build your ecosystem around what you're successful in.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, utilizing metrics, especially key performance indicators for where you're succeeding at, gathering that data to say, okay, I have the most success when I maybe make calls during this specific time during the day, especially
Yeah.
if you're using a CRM database or something like that to gauge that information. Or,
Mhm.
I win business the most around this time of the year. That's
Yeah.
when you need to go hard. That's when you're supposed to be like in the field. Those are the long days, long nights. That you're using data, like I said, to make informed decisions. It is strategy. Data is the most powerful tool, I would say, to being strategic and winning business.
I love it. On my end, December always sucks.
Well,
And I get it. People are traveling, right? Vacation. I get it, but that's data. That right there is
mhm,
saying, hey, listen, like you need to know that.
yeah.
Typically people like to buy more in like the middle of summer or
Mhm,
in let's say January, February, because they just had their goal session in December,
mhm.
in November. And now they're like, hey, we built this strategy. Now we want to go out there and find what we need. And so I totally get what you're saying. And understanding that will help you, like you said, those long days, long
Mhm.
nights when you need to. So no,
Absolutely. And then,
perfect.
just piggybacking off of what you said, if you
Yeah.
see that, I don't sell the most in December. There's clearly an industry out there that is selling in December, whether it's you
Yeah.
going to find like the pop-up Christmas shops or knowing that there's specific niche companies, like I said, that really pop up during that season and need insurance, or knowing December may be slow, but November leading into December is on fire because people are needing insurance for things that they're doing in December. So, just using data to make that strategy work for you. You may be slow in December for that
But
specific
not
niche.
not that person over
Yes.
there.
Not
Yeah.
there. There's another person. And that's where we get into analytics for producers to really understand when they are selling. And if you have a producer that is clearly selling better than others in the month of December, go to him and see what he's doing. See what companies he's working with, what industry he's in. Obviously, there's a little bit of competition there, so you may not get the answer you're
Yeah.
looking at. But at the end of the day, revenue for your business, the larger
Hmm.
company that you all work for, is what's important. So, finding mentors and making those connections and that relationship also is another part of strategy, which I said
Yeah.
data is a part of a toolbox that you should have. So
Right.
obviously, there's a lot of things that you'll have in your toolbox, and data is clearly one of them.
Money. And one thing I'm thinking of, today we all agree, at least when I'm recording this, I don't think it's going to be changing anytime soon.
Okay.
Personalized market is not good. I'm going to say it like that. Not good. I have another word for it, but I'm not going to say it. But you bring up a thought as we're talking, I'm thinking about it. When I brought up like, hey, for me, it's not very, it doesn't, December is a bad month typically, just because people are buying. But for others, it's amazing, right? And understanding that in insurance, today the personalized market's not good, right?
Okay.
So, in your thought, how do you think when we were thinking about what we thought before and bringing that into there? Uh, how do you think that correlates to that? Like, do you feel as if like this provides another opportunity for an agency to be focusing on maybe a niche market or something? Or like, what do you think?
So I think personal lines is really unique. I mean,
Yeah.
you have everyday people like me and you, and then you have others that are, high net worth. You have people that are having yachts that they have, and then you have
Lucky.
people that have kids that have houses. But I think the key information in personal lines is that it's a very saturated market. Like everyone is doing personal lines. I think
Yeah.
what is going to interrupt the personal lines industry, which we're seeing now, is the tech company, insurtechs. Insurtechs are
Yeah.
really disrupting the personal lines industry. Being able to go on your phone and get a quote within 30 seconds, 45 seconds to say, okay, these are the specific companies, this is how much they would charge you. And then you making a decision like that, like technology is at our fingertips. And so I think if carriers and brokers don't catch up to the tech wave, I think they'll get left behind. find in the personal line space.
Oh my gosh, you opened up a can of worms for me. I do this every single day talking to agents about it. And it's a struggle still. It really
Mhm.
is. And I truly think the problem is how they're making money today. Like
Yeah.
a lot of it's off retention, right? And sometimes there's not we can sit back a little bit. The 5, 10 years in, if you've done really well, you're sitting back, I don't need to make as many anymore. And we forget that you need to keep going.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of the early adopter agencies kind of all like gobble the tech up. But some of
Mhm.
them got shiny object syndrome. Let's be real. Insure tech, indie tech probably wasn't as developed where it needed to be yet to
No.
really solve the problem, but it's getting there.
It is getting there,
Yeah.
absolutely. And shameless plug, View by Hub is something that I use. So I was in the market I moved from Tennessee to Mississippi, and the broker that I had originally, they didn't do insurance in Mississippi. And so I had to find new insurance. And so I was in a place where I was like, well, where do you go to get insurance for personalized? And I'm like, wait a minute, you work for an insurance broker. There's absolutely a place you could go. And
Yeah.
we had launched View by Hub in 2023. And so I actually went and put my information in. Agent called me and I got insurance that same day. So it's that type of experience that people are looking for in an insurance broker and in InsurTech.
Oh yeah.
That old loyalty that people had of like, my family's had this insurance broker or they've worked with this insurance agent for 15 years. People just don't have that experience anymore. It's just everyday working people looking to solve everyday problems. So giving them very simple solutions, things at their fingertip, and like you said, thought out and well-developed products, I think really do make a difference.
They're getting better, I promise you. And I've been on the end where I've done a lot of like, Danny doesn't do this yet. I'm like, I know, man. I promise you, like it'll get there. It will get there.
And give the developers a little bit of grace. So
right.
InsurTech is definitely an up and coming industry. And a lot of us in the data and analytics space, in the engineering space, like we're trying to figure out how best to make these things work. And a lot of times you're working with technology that may not be built for what you're trying to accomplish. So they may not have the API connections. They may not have an FTP site experience. There's a lot of things that go in on the backside of the development of those products where you could be working with outdated technology because that's the industry. And trying to make something new, shiny, and extremely advanced. So there's a lot of things happening on the back end where you could be, having your hands tied behind you or one hand tied behind your back while trying to, really keep the demand and make everything work.
Heck yeah. I'm sorry, I gotta ask because I don't know everything. FTP site, what is that? I know there's someone out there listening to this that might not know it either.
So it's like a file drop. It's like a file drop box. So sometimes you can do an API connection where it's like a cloud plugin, like you're plugging one data source to the next. An FTP drop off box is like Dropbox, but it's more encrypted. So
I learn something new every day. Thank you. I've learned so much during this convo. But I'm going to veer it in. We've been talking about strategy, how to use the data, how that can dictate where our actions lie. Data is revenue. What are you going for there?
Oh, everything. I mean, data is revenue. Can be talking about sales. You can be talking about marketing. And I think a key piece that people don't look at is employee satisfaction and retention. I mean, keeping employees engaged, not having as high turnover. I mean, every time you lose someone at a job, it costs you money actually to lose employees. So keep having that data on your employees, employee satisfaction. I mean, and even looking even further, forecasting, pricing models. I mean, using data to make those things work and keep the generation or the revenue generation going. It it's all tied in together. And it also goes back to data strategy. Those strategic decisions that you're making all drive revenue back to the business. And at the end of the day, that's what we're all looking for. It also helps with giving you the competitive advantage. I know a lot of times people look at, and to me, I'm sorry, data is everything. So data is everywhere. So when people talk about finance or running the numbers, like that's data. When you talk about making strategic decisions based on the market, that is data. So all of that creates a complex strategy that you can drive revenue back to your business.
Yeah. So one thinking I'm thinking along the lines of revenue is there a point where I'm building, like I'm intaking too much data before I can make a decision? Like, what I've found is some people, they build so much data up. They're like, hey, listen, if we do this, it's going to hit 1.2 million revenue based off of like what we've gathered from companies and like feature, but they never act on it. Or so what my question to you is how do you know when to make the right decision?
I think you have to have the correct people in the room for that. And you also have to have leadership buy-in. So there's a lot of times, and what I saw before COVID is there was not a lot of buy-in in the insurance industry for data. It did not get to be a key piece, I would say, of a lot of insurance agencies and brokers, models and revenue generation until COVID. It was until agents couldn't go outside. People were stuck in their houses. How can you get that competitive advantage over the people around you? They went to data. And so once people started to buy into data and analytics, buy into what it can offer, I think you start to see leadership making those decisions once they trust the information they have. Now, going a little bit further, a little bit more in depth, is bad data in, bad data out. So if you are making sure that your data infrastructure is built properly, the data that's going into the system makes sense, the numbers are matching up, and it starts to build that story for leadership, it makes it a no-brainer for them to make those decisions. So I think having buy-in from leadership is the key to make sure that data story that you're telling makes it to actionable things that leadership does take that action on.
So if I'm a new agent starting out, I better make sure my data is clean immediately.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and that's something on the data and analytics side that you run into. A lot of times, I think agents, producers, a lot of people in the business don't recognize how the little interactions that you make with the systems that you use, whether it's Applied or Vertafore, Sajida, et cetera, whatever information you are putting into the system, that's being extracted somewhere to make business decisions. So unless you have a strategy where you are making sure that you are putting really good data in your system, then the people that use that data to make those actionable, decisions, they aren't able to trust what you have in your system. So I think starting with an operational strategy to make sure that your data is good impacts the ability for leaders and producers and people that generate revenue in your business to use that data to make those good decisions.
Oh, that's money. What's something simple an agency can do there when it comes to like starting off? It's just like, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I've seen data before from management system where they put the notes in the first name. Like, guys, don't do that.
Yes. Processes and procedures. So, and documentation. So everybody that knows me knows I am huge on processes and procedures and documentation. If you have a process that you have that's unified, that people follow, especially when it comes to inputting data into the system, it makes the process much more seamless. I also think companies need to go back in their bag for training, training people on how to use the system. Even if you come from a different broker, that doesn't necessarily mean you know exactly how to use the system or the processes or procedures that you all put into place. So I think operationally having a really good documentation base for the processes and procedures that you have for your company, as well as training for new individuals or new associates on those processes and procedures, I think makes the business a lot more seamless when it comes to data and analytics. So something very small is starting documentation, doing processes and procedures, and starting with training.
I love it. No, this has been amazing. And guys, I like to keep these sessions shorter because I know everyone's busy. There's other episodes on here that are out there in the world. They're like an hour long, right? I like to keep these very brief and give the listener something actionable. And I think you've really honed in on that today. Like sit back, guys. If I'm the agent, sit back, think about what your process is today. Think about what you're putting in your technology and what that's doing. Like, how is your data working for you? She basically explains all that right in here. And I before you guys go back and like re-listen to this, check it back out because it's literally amazing. It's things that you don't think about. It really does. I didn't think about it until I met certain people, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, why didn't I think of that? Because I'm like a sales guy, so I'm like, oh, I hit the phone, but well, maybe I should have been doing this. So this was wonderful. Our conversation here today. I mean, I learned so much, and so the way that I like to close these out. I know I didn't ask you to prep for this or anything. What are like 2 to 3 pieces of like InsurTech or indie tech out there that you think agents should be aware of?
Ooh, I would say for starters is Enable. So shameless plug for Ryan. I think that the work that he and the team over there with Chris and Kabir is excellent, especially for insurance brokers. I think it is an amazing tool, amazing company. I think they're doing some really, really, really interesting things for the insurance space. And I can't say that I have another InsurTech, but the only other technology that I think makes an important impact is some business intelligence tool.
Okay.
So whether that's Power BI or Tableau, I think having those in your company, I think will make a huge difference.
And that explains, someone might not, is that just giving me insight to what's in my like internal system today, like what I should be doing?
So the data, Power BI takes data from a data source. So you definitely probably need a data analyst to work on this for you, but it takes data from a data source.
So
and you can
basically
listen, call me. I will definitely help. So you take that information and puts from a data source, it puts it into kind of a system where you can then create data visualizations off of it. So you can start telling the story with your data. So it's really a vehicle for you to get that data in analytics. So those are the 2. One is an InsurTech company. The other one is a tool, because obviously I'm a data buff. So data analytics.
Guys, hey, focus on your data. Do it. I promise you'll find some things that you can take some action on, what things you shouldn't be doing. She spells it all out here beautifully. So guys, at the end of the day, we discuss indie tech, technology that are out here in the world, how it'll make an impact to your agency. So thanks for listening, and catch you on next episode. Thanks.